Leicester City aren't going to be punished for breaking the PSR rules. We've got away with a points deduction, but how? Well, it's due to a very good lawyer and a ridiculous legal loophole. Let's look at the statements that have just come out today about this situation. So in March of 2024, Leicester were charged by the Premier League over alleged breach of PSR. We are alleged to have failed to submit our audited financial accounts to the Premier League for the 22-23 season. Forest were handed a 4-point deduction for a PSR breach in a similar manner, as were Everton. They actually got 2 for it. So March 21st, we were referred to an independent commission for an alleged breach of PSR and for failing to submit their audited financial accounts to the league. The alleged breach relates to the assessment period ending season 22-23, remember that, when the club was a member of the Premier League. Leicester were relegated to the EFL Championship prior to the introduction of the new standard directions, which prescribe a timeline within which PSR cases should be heard, which is why you saw quicker resolutions for Everton, Forest, stuff like that. And basically, we exceeded the £105 million in losses that you were allowed to do. It was rumoured that we went over by somewhere around 25 million. So how on earth have we got away with it? Well, it's mainly down to this man, Nick Demarco, the Lionel Messi of sports barristers. A sports barrister who has represented more than 45 clubs across the Premier League and EFL. Previously helping Chef Wednesday avoid a points deduction, then getting it reduced. Helping Stevenage avoid a points deduction. The same with Derby. Also worked with Newcastle to do with their takeover of the Saudis. And he also helped Nottingham Forest in their case with PSR against the Premier League. But here is the official statement from Leicester City in regards to what has occurred. So, we originally got charged by the Premier League. They sent it to an independent commission. This happened in March 2024 for an alleged PSR breach relating to the assessment period ending 30th of June 2023. That is the all-important date and wording that has got us out of this. So, the commission dismissed the club's initial challenge to its jurisdiction to hear the case, but the club's challenge has now been upheld by an independent appeal board. So, interestingly, you can appeal against the initial thing happening, but then appeal against the thing you couldn't appeal before, and it reversed the commission's finding. So Leicester City welcomes the appeal board's comprehensive decision, of course, which supports our consistently stated position that any action against the club should be pursued in accordance with the applicable rules. So to avoid any misunderstandings which may arise in light of the statement which has been issued by the Premier League, which we'll get to in a second, Leicester City wishes to emphasise the finding of the appeal panel that, when considering the wording which is actually used in the Premier League rules, this is the key here. Someone in the Premier League might be getting sacked from their lawyer position. The club did not breach the Premier League PSRs for the assessment period ending the 30th of June 2023. In its decision, the appeal board identifies flaws in the drafting of the Premier League's rules. Hell yeah. In challenging the Premier League's attempts to charge Leicester City, the club has simply sought to ensure that the rules are applied based on how they are actually written. So we have got away with, in theory, breaking Premier League rules by applying Premier League rules. So how? Well, if we go to the official Premier League statement, then you will see. The Premier League is surprised and disappointed by the Independent Appeal Board's decision to uphold an appeal lodged by Leicester City. I like how they're surprised and disappointed that their own rules have been applied here. Like, this is the most ridiculous way to get out of a punishment ever. Getting punished by the people and then saying, oh, actually, no, you've made a mistake, therefore you can't actually punish us. Cheers, guys. Thanks. In March this year, the Prem referred us for the financial period ending 22-23. Leicester City subsequently challenged the Commission's authority to hear the case on the grounds of jurisdiction. That challenge was dismissed, which we appealed. And the appeal has been upheld. So, this is the all-important paragraph that basically explains a Premier League lawyer is the reason why we have been able to beat them in a legal battle. The appeal has been upheld by an independent appeal board on the grounds that the club's accounting period, which ended on the 30th of June 2023, at the end of this period, came after the point the club had ceased to be a member of the league. So because we got relegated before the end of the financial accounting period, the appeal board's decision effectively means that, despite the club being a member of the league for the previous however many years, for the 3-year rolling period, the league cannot take action against the club for exceeding the relevant PSR threshold in respect of the associated accounting periods. So because we got relegated, we can't be punished for breaking the rules. So if we had stayed in the league, we would have been hit by a points deduction. But we also utilised the fact that we were a Premier League club when the EFL tried to punish us previously, and we got through via some legal jargon and wording that was fine as well. So we've basically battled the EFL and the Premier League against each other and their poor wording of rules to get away with losing more money than we should have been allowed to. So people are going to say that, like, we're cheats and stuff like that. I mean, we did lose more than we were allowed to, but due to the Premier League hiring inadequate lawyers to write their rules and bylaws and all of that stuff, we're actually going to get away with it on a technicality due to the Premier League themselves. Not because we've come up with this crazy excuse or something like that. The wording in their own rules has meant that they lose this legal case, which is kind of crazy. So they then go on to say that the Premier League is very disappointed with the appeal board's decision and the limited reasons provided for it. I mean, the reasons are rules. As much as we are probably laughing at the fact that this is how we've got away with it, rules are rules. The league remains of the view that the original commission took the right approach in interpreting the rules in a practical and workable way that gives effect to their intended purpose. In overturning the original findings, the Premier League considers the appeal board's decision fails to take into account the purpose of the rules, all relevant parts of the PSRs, and the need for effective enforcement of alleged breaches to ensure fairness among all clubs. To me, it feels like there is a ridiculously simple solution to this loophole that has been found. If the date of the end of the accounting period and the dates that you are revoked as a team from the league and you are officially relegated, if they're the same, this loophole doesn't exist. But because one is further away than the other, you can get relegated, but then your accounting period goes past that point and, oh, suddenly we're no longer a Prem club, so you can't punish us. Even though we should be punished. And I fully imagine, I don't believe that a statement has come out from the EFL, not that I've seen at all. But in theory, this therefore means that if we do get relegated, then we could get a points deduction from the EFL next season. That's how I'm looking at it. Whether that has any kind of time barring, like if we stayed in the Prem for the next 50 years and then got relegated, would we still serve that points deduction? I have no idea. But it doesn't appear like there is any world in which this is not now done and final. Premier League statements, club statements, statements from the biggest journalists and everything out there. Somehow, what seemed like an impossibility has turned into reality. We've escaped a points deduction, and now we just need to finish 17th or higher. Whereas previously it was like, oh yeah, we could be 15th, but then in 5 months' time, bang, 10 points deducted. Suddenly you're bottom of the league. So with the positive periods of games so far against some of the bigger teams, like Villa and Spurs, we've had great second halves against those teams. This has got to put a fire in the belly of everybody at the club. Now that they know that this is done and dusted, you're not going to get hit with those points later down the line. Now you just have to fight. Get that passion and let's stay in the league.